It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. All right, so there's a combo, I think, discussion to be had here, Anthony, off of the Thunder winning the title and the Durant trade. Because, and it's kind of a discussion about the Wizards, right? And it's trying to look at how do you build a team. What are some of the things the Wizards have done? And I look at a team, the Durant deal through the Phoenix lens here, not through the Rockets lens. Although, to an extent, the Rockets lens too. I think the Rockets have learned a really good lesson, which is like, why not now? And I think never before in the NBA would I have said that. But I do think that what we're seeing now with these restrictive rules on team building and how fragile this league is, that if you think you have a shot, you should just go for it. Because if you try to wait for the perfect timing, you might have an injury that blows it up. Or a player, like you think you got a big three and one player sours before the other one is ready. And so if you're the Rockets and you have Alperen Şengün and you're like, he's really freaking good. And Van Vliet still in his prime, and you can acquire a Kevin Durant to go with all of the super athletic defensive guys you got. Ime Udoka is a really good defensive coach. And we think that we can make this thing happen. And specifically the thing that we need is available in the form of Kevin Durant. We know that this title window is going to be short. 1, maybe 2 years before Durant is done, right? He's 37 years old. And while it feels like Kevin Durant will be scoring in pickup basketball games till he's 100. But scoring in pickup basketball games versus scoring in the NBA are different. They're just like, Boston probably thought they had a multiple-year runway. They're hurt. Tatum goes down. They might have to blow it all up. The Pacers, they're looking at extensions for a bunch of guys, including Mathurin, potentially this offseason. They're extension eligible. Nesmith, extension eligible. So, like, are they going to have to all of a sudden pay guys? Do they have to make tough decisions? And, by the way, they have to do all this through the lens that 2025, 26 is – they're not going to be like, oh, it's a wash, we're going to give up. But, like, they don't have Tyrese Haliburton. It's like their title chances are tremendously hit. And so if you look at the shortness of the window, a team, like once you're ready, iron strikes hot. Go. But I think if you're the Wizards, you're looking more at, we don't want to be Phoenix. We don't want to try things that just for the sake of trying them. We want to have a pointed plan. I think Houston probably is like, we have a pointed plan. They have enough draft assets. They have enough young players that there is a path to a post-Durant success without being terrible. They also accumulated a ton of second-round picks that they were able to include in this trade. So they had a war chest of assets. And they also had hard lines in the sand. Like, they weren't going to give up Eason. They weren't going to give up Shepherd. And they have future Phoenix picks that they were not willing to give back to the Suns. So, like, the Rockets have been able to do this without giving up their best assets. And if you are the Thunder, like, they have a war chest of assets. They have 7 first-round picks in the next 3-4 years, I think it is, including 2 this year. They can't even use them because they have 15 guys under contract next year already, including, by the way, Nikola Topic, who many people thought would be, if he was healthy, he could be the best player. He could have been the best player out of last year's draft class, and he tore his ACL and didn't even play this season. So they're getting a guy who's like a top 3, top 5 caliber pick next year. And so I look at, say, the asset management that the Wizards have done, and, like, let's trace it back, right? So Michael and Will, Winger and Dawkins, inherit the worst contract in the NBA. That's Beal's because of the no-trade clause. One, he's not a $50 million player. Or a $45 million player, or 46. So the cap hits on that were 2022-23. He's a 43. Then he was 46. So they traded him after that first season, 2 weeks after they got here. He's 50 this year. He'll be 53 next year, and he's got a player option for 57. And if Bradley Beal has any sense, he will take that player option because there ain't no way in hell that dude is getting $57 million on the open market at 34 years old with the level he's played, right? So they take Beal. They turn, and I'm just doing the players here, not even the picks, right? They turn Beal, who is going to be on their books with a no-trade clause, playing at a subpar level that caps the success of your team. They take him in 2023, and he's going to be on the books until 2027, and turn him into Chris Paul. They turn Chris Paul into Jordan Poole. So by comparison, Jordan Poole, his contract, if Spotrac would let me find it. Hold on, Jordan Poole contract. Normally this website's very easy to navigate page to page. Poole cost half, basically. He's going to, or 60%. He is on the books also till next year, but he's 31 this year, 34 next year. And I would rather have Jordan Poole than Bradley Beal as a player. Contract neutral. I would rather have Poole than Beal, the way Beal has been the last couple of years, because he's been hurt nonstop. Healthy, it's a different argument, maybe, but I think it's close enough that, especially the way Poole played in 2024-25, you'd rather have that player. So then, like, what if they flip him again? Which I think everyone anticipates them eventually doing. They can either get off the money earlier, or they take on someone else, and if they get off the money earlier, then you've created flexibility to take on a different bad contract and get draft capital for it. Or you have taken on a longer contract and you probably get draft capital with it and you accumulate the war chest. And like, I know this is boring in some ways, and it's very chess-like in that you're always trying to think the next move ahead. And it's like, hey, when do we get to capture the king? A really great player. But you just have to stay ready. And I think that's kind of the like really boring part of what the Wizards are doing right now, what the Jazz are trying to do, and what the Hornets are trying to do is like, okay, when we're bad and we have good draft picks, let's take good players. Let's take Brandon Miller if we're Charlotte. And like, let's see if he's a star. If you're Washington, obviously you would have loved to be in the top 2 of this year's class. You don't. You take another good player and someone that you hope can be a part of your winning team moving forward. But it's the ability to see those moves coming, maintain the flexibility, and understand that you have to be ready when the iron is hot, or when there's a trade to be made, or to be the Nets are in this position now. Like, part of the reason the Nets have been able to accumulate a ton of assets is because they have a ton of cap space. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll take your bad contract for a year as long as you attach a first-round pick to it. And then we can trade multiple first-round picks for a player. And that's how this league currently operates, more so than like, hey, you got a bunch of free agent, you get cap space to sign a free agent, and turning I guess my point is, when you see what's happened in Phoenix, and you look at what Houston was able to do, you look what Oklahoma City is set up to do with a championship now in hand. The fact that the Wizards turned the worst, most inflexible contract in the sport, maximum length, maximum money, with a no-trade clause, into real flexibility with potential for more, I think you have to, Anthony, say is a pretty significant win.
No, I mean, they definitely did, just because of the situation that they were, put in. But that's also why, having a Will Dawkins, a Michael Winger, those people as our higher-ups, and, the people that helped build the team that we just saw win the NBA championship, it's important that, have people like that in there so we can capitalize on deals like this. And it sort of kind of reminds me of what the Nationals sort of kind of did with Juan Soto in terms of, trading him and, bringing in that large haul of players that we have now. Granted, it hasn't necessarily resulted in, wins for the Nationals, but the fact you have a Mackenzie Gore, you have a James Wood, you have a C.J. Abrams, that's something, better than nothing. And it's good to have, smart people sometimes.
So just so folks understand how this goes, and like like when they have the seasons graphics and it's like, you are here. Mm-hmm. And it's like, right now we got to be on Hell's front porch. Oh my God, it's hot outside. In 2007, Sam Presti, then the new lead executive for the Seattle Supersonics, has Rashard Lewis, right? And so that summer, he trades Ray Allen to the Celtics, and he trades Rashard Lewis. And by the way, the Ray Allen pick I think, becomes Durant or becomes Westbrook. He becomes one of them, or is used to get one of them. But he also, the other forgotten trade is he trades Rashard Lewis to the Orlando Magic. And Rashard Lewis was a really good player, really useful player who helped the Orlando Magic win an Eastern Conference championship and compete in an NBA Finals. So, like, not a bad deal for Orlando, right? But in that deal, he gets a trade exception and 2 first-round picks. But he uses cap space to just absorb, or to absorb some contract and send Rashard Lewis to Orlando. One of those picks becomes Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka becomes Victor Oladipo, Ersan Ilyasova, and the draft rights to Domantas Sabonis. Victor Oladipo, who also gets acquired by Presti, and Sabonis become Paul George. Paul George becomes Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. So from literally Rashard Lewis in a sign-and trade in 2007, Sam Presti ultimately gets Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Cason Wallace, 3 other first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and they have a championship in hand in 2025, and they're still going. And this literally, you can trade back, move for move, to 2007. So, is it chess? Is it probably frustrating if you're a Thunder fan in like 2021? Sure. But not if you're a Thunder fan today, and hopefully this is the Wizards in 2029, 2030. We'll be like, remember how this all started with the Beal trade in 2023? That'd be cool. But it's just transaction for transaction, getting a little bit better, a little more flexible, a little more options until eventually you can cash in. And we'll see if they do. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, Take Command answers a self-described, very stupid mailbag question. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the team 980. 6 o'clock, back to the NBA. More on the NBA Finals and the Thunder's 2025 NBA Championship. Right now, though, take command. We had fun with our mailbag this morning. Quite a bit of fun. We'll let you hear just a little bit of it. Fun thought exercise Logan and I went through. Here we go on the Hoffman Show.
It's time to take command with former tight end Logan Paulson and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's up? What's happening? It is a summer mailbag edition of Man, That's Logan Paulson. I am Craig Hoffman, and it is time to answer nonsensical questions about football and some sensical questions about football.
Some of them are
sensical. We're going to start with a self-described stupid question. Really about it. So, by the way, the mailbag questions this week were probably the best batch I've ever gotten. We asked for some more creative, like, hey, not quite as urgent. It's the off season. Like, let's have some fun. And you guys delivered with some really hypotheticals. So appreciate that. Before training camp begins. So obviously on Thursday, we will do our defensive position group rankings, just like we did the offense last week, which everyone agreed with. Oddly, Logan, no, say Eagles fans got in our comments about Jalen Hurts and our quarterback. That didn't happen. Everyone universally agreed with our unimpeachable analysis.
I wasn't sure about that. I was like, oh, I wonder how this is going to go over. Because I honestly, I felt pretty bad about the quarterback thing. I was like, I bet you people are going to be pissed about this.
Yeah, they were. He found it, and so it is what it is.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for. Look, if he went to Super Bowls and he was ranked third in the division behind a guy who was a rookie last year and Dak Prescott, who never made it, conference championship game, I'd probably be pretty pissed too. And I say it that way, I'd probably go back and change the rankings. But it is what it is. So anyway, the point is, we'll do the defense. So look forward to that, and we'll continue the mailbag questions until then. Starting with our guy Steven, who did the cheer, made us look like fools on trivia. He gets the show, Logan. He gets the show. Hey, Craig, I think the offseason is to ask a potentially stupid question about defense, so here goes. I think it's a potentially stupid because I've never seen a certain scenario done, and since there's a lot of smart people in the NFL, it's probably never been done for a reason. But rushing the passer against great offensive lines, sometimes it feels like a waste of resources because the rush won't get home most of the time. But to make the question a little less stupid, and due to my dislike of watching previous, I'll ask about a specific scenario. Here we let's lock in. Team is down by 7 with under 2 minutes to go. So time is not on the offense. Down 7, 2 minutes to go. If they have a great offensive line, why wouldn't the defense just drop 11 in coverage? Unless I'm misreading the rules, those 5 offensive linemen are completely obsolete unless the quarterback runs. But if he passes, they can't go forward more than 2 yards. So now you have 11 defenders covering 5 receivers. Maybe defenses don't do this with Lamar and Jaden, but most don't have running QBs like them. So in this scenario, maybe you drop your 2 best D-line athletes 5 to 6 yards, back rate 10 yards, and the rest are DBs. Yes, the quarterback will have all day to throw, but again, it's minutes, and they don't have the luxury of time, and finding an open receiver against 11 athletic dudes can't be easy. And add in that the offense wasn't expecting this, so you have the element of surprise as well. Again, I know it's a stupid question, but why is it so stupid? Best, Steven.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's that stupid, honestly. I think
when you get to the specific scenario, it's actually not that stupid.
Yeah, when I was thinking about it, like when you were going through the different parameters there for the drill, like I was like, a world where if you get 11 guys on the field that are all coverage. Now, I think you might run into an issue from like a roster depth standpoint is how many good coverage players do you have? But let's say hypothetically you had all 6-year out there, a couple safeties, and guys that are really good in coverage, and you played like a version of like 2-man where you basically like doubled every player and then had 2 shell safety over top, like, and in a 2-minute situation where the ball's got to be out, like, I don't really hate it. You know what I mean? I think it gives you a lot of ability. I think the thing that freaks people out, and this is just like having talked with defensive coordinators specifically about like print defenses, drop 8, drop 9, whatever we're doing. Obviously like on the Hail Mary, Chicago dropped 10. You know what I mean? Like you drop all these people.
Well, no,
in the
because
coverage.
they had guys that were coming after Jaden.
It's like two rushes or one rushers, whatever it is, one or two rushers. And in those situations, that's perfectly normal. I think when you talk to defensive coordinators is like when you do not have any rush, or like even if it's like one person, two people, is you run into this issue where like there's no cap on the defense really, right? There's ceiling, right? So like the rush does a couple things. One, keeps the quarterback in the pocket. B, it kind of makes it difficult to attack way down the field. So all of a sudden, if you're just like playing 11 on 5, whatever this coverage is we're going to do here, like there's a possibility that someone gets way in the field and behind, which leads to an explosive play. So I think that would be a concern. That's a concern in like drop 8, for example. So drop 8, for people who don't know, is just basically like you rush 3, you drop the other 8 guys in coverage, usually at some type of zone. And the idea is the quarterback to pat the football. He's unsettled. He makes an errant throw or he throws the football away. If you don't have any rush, like my concern would be like someone falls down, there's a dude that's 20 yards behind your safety, and the quarterback, because there's no rush, has time to kind of evaluate each thing and get that ball down there. And so I think that would be the ultimate concern, is that even though you are going to be awesome coverage and in a 2-minute situation, because there's no rush, like the likelihood of an explosive play increases, in my opinion.
Yeah, you in some ways actually crank up your risk factor because they just might deep and, pass interference, like people run into each other. Like there's definite downside to it. And I think too, like I guess if you will do 2 double teams across the board, all 5, so 5 eligibles, that's 10 dudes, two for 1, and then a single safety who's just like, your job is to make sure no one gets deep. Like we're playing 2-on-1 times 5 with one dude who like you might as well stand on the goal line to better. Like you come up with that. You could do an 11-man zone thing, but like with an 11-man zone, obviously the bubbles are pretty tight if you're thinking like a Madden screen, but also then some of those guys are kind of rendered useless. Like, would you then overload it? Like, I don't.
Well, it's
not
too,
stupid. It's also.
Is like, yeah, like even if you were doing that, like maybe playing double isn't the best move. You play man, you have 5 guys playing some version of match, but then you have like a cover 2 shell. You have enough people, right? Or maybe it's cover 4. You have 4 guys crazy deep over top, then you have a hook, like a lurk player in the middle of the field. Like, I think that's a pretty sweet idea. I do, again, like it has to be a very specific scenario. And I think the problem is like when you give that back there time and limited opportunity, it becomes real dicey. Like you just the whole defense. This is maybe the crux of it. The defense is constructed to get the ball in 2.5 seconds, right? Like that's what it's built to do. Like every single rule of the defense is designed to do that. So all of a sudden, when you push that out to 10, 15, 20 seconds in some cases, like I don't care. It's going to fall apart, right? It's like basically like when you go play pickup basketball and someone's like holding the ball at the time and people are just running around. At some point, is going to find a way to get open in that 30-second shot clock. And so I think that's what you're running into is like.
And to be specific, basketball example, it would be like if you have that dude at the point, but there's no one guarding the ball.
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Someone will at some point get open. How open is that person going to be? And I think in this example, in a 2-minute situation, and maybe you could do it with like 10 seconds left in the game, something like that, a little bit tighter in terms of like capping the throw. But these quarterbacks now, man, they're too good. Like I remember watching Tony Romo in 2012, and this is something like maybe this scarring of my past is informing this decision. But we played a lot of drop 8 in the red zone. Like we'd show blitz and we'd get in a drop 8. And I was like, oh my, because you could tell he was unsettled, but he would just kind of sit there, buy a little time. He'd wait. It was like a 6-second down. And when you're used to like 2.5, feels like an eternity. And he would just find Jason for shouting times in that game. I just was like, man, like this is the problem. The quarterback, the receivers, the spacing is too good. So if there's no rush and I'm just standing back there, at some point, at some moment, either I'm going to make a shot down the field or I'm going to find a hole player or I'm going to find the sideline. Just like that's the nature of it. And I think maybe there's a more specific, like half, like, and they're taking a shot, or they're in like kind of maybe like the strike zone. So the 40 going in, we got to defend all the grass, and the clock's our friend. Maybe that's a scenario where that would work, but I think the quarterback's too good. The space is too much. The field's too big, and they're going to find a way to get that ball completed. And you think you're just kind of fingers crossed that it's not going to be for an explosive play. So I think that's kind of where I'd fall on that ultimately.
I don't hate it, because if specifically let's add one more caveat: no timeouts, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
like, can you always find a spot somewhere, especially if you have all day and it gets yardage? Yeah, and if it's really close, then you just get up to again and you spike it, and you can very quickly get the ball down the field. I guess you could like do a press situation, so you have some guys, but like eventually you got to cover all the grass. But the idea of like, okay, it's a 12-second down as long as we don't give explosive, and then it's going to take, either it's incomplete and then you have to do it again, and now we've had one play in the time that you wanted to get like 3 or 4 or 3 off of quick out quick out of bounds, that kind of stuff. Or you do get a completion. Now it's taken a bunch of time, and we almost have 45 seconds of game time run off the clock because it's a 12-second play. By the time you get everybody lined up again, like I can see it's not, and especially if the team doesn't have a plan. Like if you give an offensive coach a week to prepare for this, if it's, let's say you get, they get the ball, you punt it away, you're able to pin them inside the 10, and there's a minute 36 on the clock. They've got no timeouts, down 7. I don't think it's the worst thing you could do. Certainly would do that versus blitzing all. But I think that typically, there's part of me that thinks it would work, if I'm being totally honest. But I understand. But like, I have the same itch about it that you and every person that's been around the NFL does, of just like, oh man, like we can't let the quarterback sit back there forever. But it's 11 dudes in 11. That's a lot of dudes.
I think that's too. It's like, yes. So is the idea, this is something you run into like at the high school level, for example, all the time. Like you can have a really good idea, offensive idea, right? Offensive coordinator. You have a really good offensive idea. And it's like, man, if we could get to this like shift where we bump them over and we get to this unbalanced look like going to shift to it. But there's only a certain number of reps you have in a week, right? So
that's also,
that's the thing you're into is like, I'm going to waste 15 of my 100 reps on this, which we might not even get to in the game. And it's that much value over something else that we have in our defense, right? So like we rep, drop 8 all the time. Like we know the rules, the guys know where to be. They know the issues and the failings of the coverage. They also know the strengths of the coverage. So like, why not lean into drop 8, even though it might not be optimized for this specific scenario? And I think the other thing that you brought up too, I think it would work once really, really well. I think it would be amazing one time. But I think once you knew what you were doing, knew that was in the bag, and knew, especially if you build it, like, hey, when there's 10 DBs on the field, like they do right. This, like I think you'd see a lot of draws. I think you would see a lot of draws.
That was the other thing that, yeah.
And it's going to be pretty gnarly because you're going to get a bunch of 5 offensive linemen, like basically like, the ID from Mighty Duck into the secondary there. And you're going to like, it's going to be a bloodbath. Like I think about 2014, 15, when the Chiefs were playing Dallas, and they basically did that exact same play. Dallas was in prevent right before the half. They ran like a pseudo screen. Tyreek Hill catches the ball. The offensive line annihilates the secondary players, and Tyreek scores a touchdown. Like they didn't even take a shot. So I think that's another thing you have to negotiate too, is like still run the football, especially if you're talking about time parameters, like a minute 30, minute 40 left. If there's no time, like offenses now are so efficient in those situations. So let's say I run a draw and it for 20, like that's not good. I mean, like,
and especially if it's like, hey man, we're gonna when there's about to be contact, slide. That way they can't jump on top of you and cause a pile. We can get back up, and everyone at the same level. We can run another playoff in 5-6 seconds if the referee got the ball on time, as opposed to having to unpile bodies and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's a cool idea. I think it has. I think actually, I will say this. I think it does have a role. I think it would be interesting, like in like the mind of like Joe Wood Jr. and Dan Quinn, and see how they would do it. In terms of problem solving. Because to me, I'm like, you could play like quarters coverage, but you could have the 4 guys in the back deep as hell, and then the guys underneath play man, and then you have hook players, and then all of a sudden, like, that seems like pretty challenging to kind of find space. They have protection over top, and as long as those guys don't get too trigger happy in terms of getting too deep or too shallow, I think you're probably okay. So I do think there is merit to it, but I do think there are a lot of limitations to it as well. I think you also have to just keep in mind, and I've said this at the beginning, like, because it's an unlimited down all of a sudden, right? There's no shot clock. Like, I think about, like, I'm forgetting who this was. I think it was Miami a couple years ago. They rushed 2, right? They had 2 rushers, 5 offensive linemen. They kind of like wadded it up, and I think Tua just kind of stood there and eventually found a completion in the middle of the field, kind of late in the down. It was like 5 seconds, and then that dude's hitting the ball running, and then because they had the guys kind of in man or man, a lot of space on the left, ball down, they move it to the middle, they kick a field goal. So I think you always have to be leery of an untimed down scenario because of the ability for those receivers to just find the extra space. I think or the way you modified my analogy about it's a point guard in basketball and no one's covering them. At some point in that 30-second shot clock, someone's going to be wide open because someone's going to fall down. There's going to be a screen. There's going to be, a holding penalty. Like, that's the other thing, is the penalty element of this too is probably very, very high the longer the down goes on. So I think you always want to control the down if you're the defense as much as possible. But I'm not saying there's no merit to this, but I do think there's a lot of limitations to when you would apply it.
The more I think about it, the less I like it in like the 2-minute. The more I like it, it's 3rd and 28.
Yeah, like stuff like that is better.
Where it's like 28 yards. I know I know that like the underneath stuff, like I care 15 yards. It's 3rd and 28.
Right.
Like, I actually think that would be the better application, because I was trying to do, when you were talking about drop 8, I was like, well, when would you use drop 8 over this? Like, if you replace reps of drop 8. So when do we do drop 8? It's situations like that. Red zone 2. Red zone, you can't do this because of the quarterback draw element. Yeah. But like 3rd and super long, or 4th, Eagles fans that are now tuning in, you're perfect because I acknowledge your existence on the Jalen Hurts thing. 4th and 26 back in the day. The Freddie Mitchell play. Donovan McNabb found him. Like, yeah, let's get 11 at the sticks for that. That fine. But beyond hey, we're going to do this for an entire drive. And like you said, personnel, you can't really call it once. Like, I guess you could if you had like, do you put, I think even on the Commanders, like, hey, it's Frankie and Kane Madrono and Bobby and like, all these guys that could rush, but also could play. Like, it's just too complicated. It's not worth it from a time standpoint. But there's a thought here somewhere.
There's something that, sure.
Yeah.
I think the thing that to your point, that I kind of too is like, when would you apply it?
Right.
Because even the 3rd and 20 thing is a little like, basically in a 2-minute situation, no timeouts. There's like 12 seconds left in the game, and they're on their own like 30. I might pull something like this out, right? Where I can protect the sidelines, right, with my extra coverage players, and essentially they run versions of this. 2, they're rushing 1. They're, what I mean? They modify their base defense for this exact situation. So maybe I'm cheating here, but you can protect the sidelines, ball over the middle of the field. We've clogged throwing windows. They have to get multiple plays executed. That's probably the most applicable situation. And again, I'm cheating. NFL teams do use a version of this, right? They kind of say, hey, we're going to rush 1. We're going to defensive ends out. We're going to have the other defensive tackle kind of play that hook player. And they do use it in situations where they are on their, what is it, like minus? I don't know how you would do that.
They're
like,
on their own 30.
Yeah, they're on their own 30. They're going in. They need 2 plays to get into scoring position. So you can protect the sidelines. You can protect the middle of the field. So I think that would be the one time where I think this would be very applicable. So probably cheating a little bit with that answer. But again, like, it is an interesting idea, just a kind of application scenario. There are some limitations to it.
Yeah. And the other part of Steven's preamble, though, he's like, against particularly good offense, like, I think that's an interesting element here, where it's like, what is your success potential of rush? But sometimes, as you said, it's about just making sure the down isn't uncapped from a time perspective. So in summary, yes, there's a reason teams haven't done it. No, it's not completely stupid. Yes, there's something here, but probably not as proposed. And that's the answer. Self-described stupid question. From from us on Take Command and more answers to defensive questions and a Terry McLaurin adjacent question. Check out Take Command wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to submit a mailbag question of your own, go to hoffmanshow.com or hit me or Logan on Instagram at hoffman.sports or at Logan_Paulson82. When we get back, we're talking about the Kevin Durant trade here on the Team 980. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. The Thunder are your NBA champions, but that was not the only story in the NBA yesterday with the Kevin Durant trade. Man, what a day for Kevin Durant, of all people, to be traded on the day that the Oklahoma City Thunder win the NBA championship. Durant now on his, what is this, Team 5, Anthony?
Yes, sir.
He was Thunder, Warriors, Nets, Suns, Rockets. Also, there's an incredible Venn diagram to be made of the teams that Russ, Harden, and Durant have played for.
They're all the same teams, right?
Well, you've got in the middle Thunder and Rockets for all three. Russ and Harden have the combo of the Clippers. Durant and Harden have the combo of Nets and Rockets. Well, no, Rockets are in the middle. Durant has Nets. There's one more. Because they all played for the Rockets. Did Durant and Harden ever play anywhere else together?
No, they just play with each other in Brooklyn.
But they didn't play on the same team separately. No, okay. But yeah, so there's like dots. There's not a team that just Durant and Westbrook have played for. But yeah, there's a lot of crossover, to say the least.
Who did Harden play for?
That Harden played for.
No, Russ has a team that they didn't play for. The Wizards.
Well, Russ has a couple. They've all got their own unique ones, right? Like nobody else has played for the Warriors yet. Feels like watch Russ wind up like on the Warriors or something. Durant's got the Warriors, but his other 4 teams all had crossover.
Yeah.
Then Westbrook has the Nuggets and the Wizards and the Lakers all to himself. And then Harden's actually played for the fewest teams. Oh, right, the Sixers.
Just has the Sixers to himself.
Forgot about them. So there's that. Yeah. Anyway, Kevin Durant's going to be a Rocket. I think this move is really smart for the Rockets because of the price. 5 second-round picks is a lot of second-round picks, but they're second-round picks. And then you give up Jalen Green, who they were clearly done with. And then you don't give up Reed Shepherd, who's the 3rd overall pick in last year's draft. You don't give up Tari Eason, who's a good young player. Obviously, Amen Thompson was untouchable. Şengün, untouchable. And you've got, all of a sudden, some really good defenders, a potentially great offense with Van Vliet, Durant, and Şengün, and especially if Thompson develops offensively. And in a Western Conference that is deep, but open to the extent that it can be open considering how good Oklahoma City is, I think the Rockets are probably the second best team in the NBA next year. Now, and the other thing I like about this, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't say this, is getting rid of Dillon Brooks at this point. I think Dillon Brooks elevates your floor a certain extent. There's a certain very specific kind of toughness that I hate that he brings. He doesn't tolerate crap from other people, which is like a useful thing to have around some young players. I also don't think it's a coincidence that every team that Dillon Brooks has been on, there's been some implosion. And so getting rid of Brooks as Durant comes in does 2 things. 1, it gets rid of Dillon Brooks. And 2, it opens up minutes for the 2 guards that they need to get minutes for, specifically Reed Shepherd, who now gives you another shooting option on the floor. And so in lineups where it's some of your backups, some of your young guys like Amen Thompson and Reed Shepherd can play together. Thompson helps you not be a nightmare defensively because he's one of the best defenders in the NBA already. What are we in year 3 for him next year? And Shepherd obviously is someone we expect to have some level of struggle at the NBA level defensively because he's a smaller guard. He's only like 6'3". but trying to play like a 2 guard, but he can hopefully, guard ones, and, Thompson can handle the ball a decent amount, and Durant will handle the ball. And it's just, how do you play Van Vliet and Shepherd together? That's the tough one. And so I think it opens up minutes for some guys that needed minutes available. It gets rid of a guy who I think ultimately is a net negative. And you get Kevin Durant. And that seems useful. And San Antonio doesn't get Kevin Durant, which even though in the long term, I think it's probably right for San Antonio to keep their powder dry and play a longer game with Wemby. If you're Houston and you're thinking about a championship window soon, either you're trying to win one because you were the 2 seed last year without Kevin Durant, with San Antonio having Durant, and you have to go through them, or you have Durant, and now you're the team with Durant.
Yeah, I think the Jalen Green departure does kind of suck, but I also understand it. I'm a big fan of Jalen Green. I got to cover this guy in high school, so that's why I'm a little biased. But I also understand it. Like, this guy scoring 5 points. I mean, struggling against the Warriors in their series, where he had 5 games where he's held to single digits. I think that's a little concerning, because it shows that you're not ready for the moment. But I think if he had gone out there and performed, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. So I think them moving on from Jalen Green was probably in their best, in their best situation, just because of the window that they are currently in.
They had to give up something, and the 10th pick is not nothing to give up. Phoenix is very much looking at that pick as like, oh, this is how we. This is a rebuild piece for us. But also, like, on the Phoenix end of it, man, I know trading Devin Booker is hard, because ultimately, like, what you're trying to do, and how, like, what's your path to build around him? That would be my question. And how, like, what's your path to build around him? That would be my question.
I don't think he's the same caliber player as Bradley Beal.
No, of course he's not. Like, Beal would have gotten a lot had they traded him, and, the administration at the time decided not to. That is what it is. It's water under the bridge. Or it's in the past. I'm just saying as an example. And there's other teams that you could point to too, but like, we're in DC, so this is the example. I would just be concerned of, like, are you being real with yourself? What is the path to surrounding Devin Booker with what he needs to compete again at a championship level? And if you don't have a path while he's in his prime, the extremely painful but responsible thing to do is to trade him. And actually, I will tell you, the NBA championship was just won based off of a decision like that. If you don't know exactly what I'm talking about immediately, I will tell you what I mean next. But first, the latest from the world of women's sports, presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want it. Wawa, with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. Our weekend in review, including Anthony and I being at a game yesterday together, even though Anthony never told me he was there. That's coming up at 6:30. You did that.
I did.
Thing you're going to have to own, sir. But we're talking about the Suns and how they are now in a really tough spot. And again, not trading Devin Booker is an easy decision because he's Devin Booker and he's awesome. And you live for players like Devin Booker, a guy that is probably good enough at his best to be very close to. If you have someone, let's say he's the 8th or 9th best player in the league. If you have the 10th or 11th best, Devin Booker could technically be the best player on a championship team. He's really, really good. But what avenue do the Phoenix Suns have with very limited draft capital to get the 10th or 11th best player in the league? They have now the 10th overall pick in this draft. And let's say they hit on that at an outrageously high rate, but is that guy going to be ready? Even if, let's say they draft a 19-year-old and he's ready in 3 years and he just is awesome. Devin Booker is now 31 because Devin Booker is currently 28. And this is a very similar situation to what the Wizards were in with Bradley Beal, who decided not to trade him at the time and then signed him to a new contract and then traded him, which ironically now he's in Phoenix. But it's also very similar to where the Oklahoma City Thunder were with Russell Westbrook. So Russell Westbrook in 2019 was still one of the 10 best players in the NBA, probably. Not quite I'm the best player on a championship team, but had won an MVP, was awesome. And he meant so much to that city. In his final year in Oklahoma City, he averaged a triple-double. He was 22.9 points, 10.7 assists, 11.1 rebounds a game, which is just an absolutely absurd guard rebounding season. He actually beat it 2 years later when he averaged his triple-double with the Wizards. But he was a third-team All-NBA player and All-Star. He finished 10th in MVP voting, and it was his age 30 season. So he was a couple of years older than Booker. But they traded him to the Rockets. The Thunder received Chris Paul, with 2 seasons remaining on his contract, a 2021 pick swap, which didn't happen because it was top 4 protected, a 2024 top 4 protected pick, which did materialize as OKC had Houston's pick last year and took Nikola Topic, a 2025 pick swap, top 10 protected, and there's still a 2026 top 4 protected pick. So the Thunder will get the Thunder will get Houston's pick next year, barring something truly bizarre happening. And obviously we know that eventually they flipped Chris Paul to the Suns. The Thunder in that trade received Ty Jerome, Kelly Oubre Jr., and Oubre was traded to the Warriors with a pick that was paired with another pick. Also, the pick that came back in that turned into Aaron Wiggins. They had a couple other guys in that deal that didn't really pan out into a whole lot. And then they still have another 2027 first-round pick that's still to come for what they traded Chris Paul for. But also, Chris Paul was an essential mentor to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they treated Chris Paul really well. Chris Paul is very, very fond of the Oklahoma City Thunder organization. And I don't think SGA becomes SGA without that year with CP3. And so this is the problem, I think, if you're Phoenix, is even if, the return you're going to get for Booker is way more than the Thunder were going to get for Westbrook. Way more. So that's part of it. He's younger, and you're not trying to get Chris Paul, who was still very good at the time, back. You're probably trying to get draft capital back. So you're looking at teams that are hey, 5, 6. Can I get 5 or 6 draft picks out of this, even if I have to get multiple teams involved? But 2, can you get back something a la the Paul George trade, where do you identify a young player somewhere else where you're we'll give you Devin Booker now? Here's a trade that's not going to happen because I think the 76ers know who Tyrese Maxey is, and they are looking at the Maxey timeline more than the Embiid timeline is like some of the reporting and vibes out of Philly now. But for instance, if I was Phoenix, I would call Philly and be like, Booker for Maxey. This gives you a legit chance to win a title with Embiid. Because Booker I love Tyrese Maxey. And if I was Philly, I wouldn't do this. I would just be like, we're going to roll with Maxey. But it would give you a theoretical better chance to win right now with Embiid and Paul George. Like a Paul George, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, like that's a pretty nasty big three. Two-way players. Booker's an incredible scorer. Like, I can do some damage. But, like, Maxey's too far down the road where Shea was still an unknown. That's what I'd be trying to do if I was Phoenix, is I'm either trying to get, like, 7 draft picks or a guy that I'm pretty sure is going to be a star plus, like, 4 draft picks and just saying, we have the 10 pick this year. We're going to get all those, and we're going to try to move forward. Because I just don't know how they get what they need to pair with Booker because they have given up. They gave up so much for Durant. They didn't get as much back for Durant as they gave up. They're not going to get – they're probably going to have to attach – in fact, I would guarantee they have to attach draft capital to Beal to unload him. He's a negative asset contractually. So – if you're them, like, would you still just say we're not trading Devin Booker and put your foot in the sand, or would you start taking calls?
I mean, they probably would have the conversation with D-Book and ask him. I think they would be in the corner of whatever the player's desire is in that situation. But also, I understand like the point where you're saying you're looking at the timeline, building around this guy, and in my mind. And he might be an anomaly, but Kobe Bean Bryant, after Shaq left, and they had to essentially revamp that entire team.
He was like 24.
That was a long time ago. But I'm just saying that, like, even if you look at, the teams that he was on with, like, the Smush Parkers of the world and the, they had some of the worst starting lineups ever. And
you got to remember, Kobe won 3 titles before he was 24 years old.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
and
like,
he was
after
also
that, though.
He was also like a top 5 MVP candidate by then. Booker's not that. Like, he's great, but he's not that. I mean, what was the last year? It was the 04 Pistons. So the 03 title team. 04, they got crushed. So the 04-05 season is Kobe's first without Shaq. That's his age 26 season.
And D-Book is 28.
Yeah, that's 2 years. At that point is a pretty significant difference.
Okay.
And also, I'd have to go back and look at, like, it's a different league in terms of the ways you can move and acquire players. But I'd have to go back and look at the draft assets that the Lakers had going into the 2004-2005 offseason.
But still, you don't think they would, talk to D-Book before, trying to make a move like that?
I mean, you'd have to an extent, but at the same time, like, it still doesn't answer the question of, like, how do you get someone to play? Like, how do you win a championship with Devin Booker in Phoenix, given the fact that your 2026 first-round pick is a pick swap with Washington? So if you are now, you might wind up being okay. There's also, God, this is super, super complicated. But, like, you have a potential pick swap with Washington. You have, although Washington's probably going to be in top 10 this year, so, like, that's probably not fine. 2027, you do have an extra pick in 2027, so that's helpful. 2028 is a top 8 protected pick. 2029, you have a pick swap with Houston. 2029, you also have some pick swap stuff with Utah, Cleveland, or Minnesota. 2030 is a pick swap with Washington, which Washington's certainly hoping is by then, like, they're really good, obviously. So outgoing draft capital, 2025 to Houston, 2026, pick swap with Washington, which also means, like, the thing is with these pick swaps is it also means you can't trade the pick unless you work out the protections and how it goes, like a less favorable of situation. It just makes it harder to move, so it's not even about just having the asset. 2027, their pick is with Houston. 2028, their pick is with Brooklyn, New York, or Washington. 2029, Houston pick swap. 2030, Washington pick swap. 2031, Utah has it. What are you trading?
Nothing.
And then their roster doesn't have dudes on it. So I feel bad for Suns fans. They deserve better. But this is what you get when you have a crappy owner. And I don't think their owner has done a good job owning. Put it that way. All right, when we get back, Mystics, what a win they had yesterday. We'll talk about it as part of our weekend in review here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. We're actually going to do, so during football season, we do What Else Happened This Weekend on Tuesdays. And we're going to do our weekend in review, What Else Happened This Weekend on Tuesday this week. We have some great NBA Finals sound for real things, but we had a listener text the show, or someone who's listening text the show, text Anthony specifically, with an unbelievable hypothetical trade. In the break. So, ladies and gentlemen, I need the trade machine because the other part I just thought of that I need to do is be able to run the actual numbers here to see how this is going to work. But we're talking about the Suns and like what they should do with Devin Booker in lieu of the Kevin Durant trade. And my thing is, I don't know how you build a winner around. So currently, right, they've got Beal, Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Cody Martin, Micic, Nick Richards, Ryan Dunn, and Oso Ighodaro. So the other problem with this that's going to be really freaking hard, and this is where like we're going to lose fun on this so quickly. They're a second apron team, which means they've got to literally dollar for dollar match what happens in a trade. But let's see if we can do it. Devin Booker is going to make $53 million next year. So we would need to get a $53 million in salary back to the Phoenix Suns, along with draft capital from the San Antonio Spurs, who would be trading as the centerpiece of this deal, the number 2 overall pick in this draft, and thus the rights for Dylan Harper. So they're a second apron team before the trade, which I believe means they have to be able to do this. The Spurs are an over-the-cap, non-tax team. So they can probably take in some salary. Let me see what happens. So if I just do straight up the number 2 pick for Devin Booker, where the heck is the trade? So the trade fails because roster and financial. Spurs are unable to complete the trade since they are now an over-the-apron team. They are only to take back 100% of the salary they are sending out plus $0. So we have to now match the salaries here, which is really freaking hard. So let's see if we can do it, though. So from the roster, we need... Would you trade De'Aaron Fox? Probably not. The whole point, if you're requiring Devin Booker, is we're trying to win a championship now.
Yeah.
So Devin Vassell becomes helpful because he's $27 million. So we can get him in the trade.
Okay.
Then Harrison Barnes, so sorry, you are trade bait here as well. So now we're at 53 out on one side, 46 on the other. Oh.
Then you throw in like a young player maybe.
So here's the hard part. Are you willing to give up Jeremy Sohan?
For Devin Booker?
Yeah, I think I would do it too.
Yeah.
Luckily, that gets you basically even. You're at 53 million and 53.1. The problem is I think you have to do it literally exactly. Which also means like,
can you add cash compensation?
I think it's got to be dollar for dollar.
God dang.
So if we have Malachi Branham over here and Nick Richards over here. Oh, that's 58 and 58.1. Dang it. You could figure out how to maybe make the math work.
Yeah.
But then, okay, now also we need San Antonio. Maybe we take this 2027 Atlanta pick with no protections and we'll throw it in there. So trade to Suns. So now we've got Devin Booker and Nick Richards for Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan, Branham, the second pick this year, and the Hawks' first-round pick next year. We try this trade. It fails because the rosters don't work. There's team options that have to be exercised. There's a bunch of stuff. But like, this is actually a great exercise in like why this is so hard. This used to be easier. They created the first and the second apron because basically because of Beal and Booker combined making $100 million or $106 million plus some of the other contracts they have. The Suns are in a terrible pickle of cap hell, making it really hard to make trades. And that kills a very fun hypothetical of like, so let's back up for a second. Let's just have the fun part. Would you trade the second overall pick if you're San Antonio for Devin Booker? So you're San Antonio.
Hell yeah.
I think I would too. I think Dylan Harper could be really good. And the idea of him and Wembanyama together in the long term is fun. But I think are we good enough to win this year if we have Devin Booker, Victor Wembanyama, and some of the other pieces that De'Aaron Fox, some of the other pieces that we have, Steph Castle will make it work. We'll make it work. And then in the long term, and then also, by the way, like the Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, Steph Castle backcourt logjam, now you don't have to worry about it. There is a fit issue, as great as a lot of people think Harper could be. If you're the Suns, are you doing it?
Straight up. I mean, if I can get a little bit more, I would, but
straight up 2 for Booker? No, I'm not doing it. You give me Booker. If it's Booker for, like, Booker should get like 5 first-rounders, but if one of them is the number 2 overall pick right now in a draft where you're pretty sure that player is going to be really good, I think that brings the price down. Because often these trades, it's like, oh, it's 5 first-round picks. Yeah, but we're giving you an all-star who's going to be awesome. Like you're giving us 5 late firsts. This is not the case. You're getting the number 2 pick right now. So maybe it's 3 firsts, something like that, including this year, or it's like a first plus Sohan, or like 2 plus another pick plus Sohan, something with some of the young players. That would be interesting. But that's the kind of framework for a deal that I feel like I would be looking for. That's a great hypothetical.
It is.
I just was instantly, like right before we came back, I was like, oh, let me pull up the trade machine. Ooh, yikes. Yikes. So we've entered second apron season, Anthony. Actually, we've entered NBA draft season. We'll do more on the draft tomorrow. We read a little bit and reacted to some of David Aldridge's NBA Draft Confidential last week on the guards. What about the forwards and the centers in this draft? We'll take a look at some of them over the next 2 days, and then we'll be live from Wizards Draft headquarters on Wednesday ahead of the first round of the NBA draft, which will air with Linnell Willingham right here on the Team 980. When we get back, an NBA Finals edition of Real Things Real People Said in a real microphone. Wrap it up here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. And we're running out of time. Let's get right to it. It's time for Real Things, Real People Said in Real Microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
Sounds like I just sent us into like the multiverse. Sometimes computers have a mind of their own, man. I don't know what to tell you. All right, Real Things time, NBA Finals edition. And, you know, sometimes you get kind of drunk players after a game and you get really funny quotes. We'll see what happens at the parade if we get drunk. You know, Real Things on a parade day is always a good time. But this is a young team, man, and they're just a lot more chill. It's a different generation of player as well. You know, they didn't necessarily have the old heads walking around that have been waiting forever to let it go. And so you have stuff like this. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, having his literal first ever drink, and it was champagne to celebrate winning an NBA championship.
So now that you got the outcome that you wanted, are you able to sort of process like where you are in this time in history?
Nope. No, not at all. I actually just had my first drink, so I'm like working on that. I think in a couple days I'll be able to like come back down to earth a little bit. But right now I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. God's been extremely good to me. So I've definitely felt that. Like coming off the court, just a lot of trials.
His first drink, the NBA champagne. Oh, he's like, I'm trying to deal with that. So he's first ever feeling of like, whoa, my head's a little fuzzy. This is different.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to be honest, I guess I was sort of kind of like this guy in terms of never like drinking until I found out I wasn't gonna be a professional athlete. So then that's when.
I also think alcohol this is like crazy to, you know, if you're above 30, especially I think above 40, no less than your 50s or 60s, like alcohol's not as popular as it used to be. Now that a lot of people still don't go out and drink. But it's the idea that people just like drink as casually or recklessly, depending on how you want to look at it, as they used to. And I think the research, especially amongst athletes, into what it does to your body and frankly, the availability of marijuana as an alternative that doesn't do some of that stuff to your body, I think has, not that it doesn't do other things to your body, but I just don't think this generation specifically of athletes, but even of people, drinks as much as previous generations. You would know better than me as a younger person, Anthony.
I mean, well, athletes know. I think I think athletes know. I feel like as long as like you're still like trying to perfect your craft, you're not drinking as much.
Just some of the social stigma is gone of like not drinking.
Nah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the people I hang around, like a lot of them drink.
Oh, okay. I hang around a bunch of nerds.
They socially drink though. It's like, I guess you go outside, you get a drink.
Yeah, but like if you don't drink, whatever. This is not a fair conversation. I mean, it's a fun on-air conversation for a different day, but we are running out of time, and I want to play this more amazing J-Dub sound. This was Scott Van Pelt last night.
What has been most satisfying that you gave this team along the way, that when you look back on it, when you're old and washed like me, you're like, you know, I did that. Is there one thing that you'll take great satisfaction in from this run?
Nothing's more precious than time, I think. And I think when...
That's so true, man.
Just giving the team my time and them giving me theirs. We've had team dinners after we've lost. We've had plane don't take off till 4 a.m. and we sit on the runway. Like all those like cool times where we were present with each other and like had fun, played Boo-Ray on the plane, Uno, listen to music together. Like all that stuff, I'm happy that I did that with this team. I think that's why we were so good. Like all the off the court stuff is stuff that I'll remember, and when it comes to like time, it's like, yeah, just spending extra hours with each other. Like me and Chet used to like go in the hotel and like watch film on like our pick and rolls when he was coming back. Like that's the stuff I remember from this run more than like I can't even remember what happened our last series. So it's like those are always moments that stick out to me.
Well, you shared your time with me throughout this, and for that I'm grateful. I enjoyed a chance to get to know you a little bit, and I look forward to doing it again somewhere down the road.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I mean this is a compliment, Anthony. Jalen Williams is 1,000 years old.
Nah, that was a hell of a quote.
As someone who's also 1,000 years old, like I have so much appreciation for that perspective. He just gets it. And I think this is a group of guys that gets it. And while they're also very talented basketball players, that's why they're NBA champions.